We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Daled Amud Beis in Meseches Bava Metzia. This is Bava Metzia Daf 34b. The Gemara is asking, let's say a person initially says, the shomer initially says that he's going to pay for the item, the chazer v'yamar, but then he says, Eini mishalim, he says, I'm not going to pay. So what would be the halacha over there in terms of does he get the kefil or not? Mi amrinon mahadr kahadr be. Do we say that he's retracting? He's really not intending on paying, therefore he's not entitled to the kefil. Should we find the ganif? O dilma, or maybe b'milsei koi, really he is staying with what he originally said, he is going to pay. He's simply pushing the person off. And the Gemara continues with another question. Amar Hareini Mishalim, let's say he says, I'm going to pay. V'meis, and then he dies. V'yamru bonav, and then his children say, Einanu Mishalmin, we're not going to pay. What's the halach in that case? Mi amrinan mahadr kahadri behu. Do we say that they are retracting? O dilma b'milsa davu on kaimi, or maybe they are staying with what their father said, they really will pay. And again, they're just pushing him off. And the Gemara continues, Shalmu banimai, what if the children actually do pay? Matzi amar lehu ki aknoi kfeila la'avuchon, can he say to them, I only gave over the kefil to your father, David li nayach nafshay, because he did something for me. But lididchu, but for you, lo, so I'm not giving it over to you, you're not going to get the kefil. Oh, dilmor, maybe, lo shna, maybe it doesn't make a difference. And the Gemara continues, Shilem levanimai, what if the shomer pays the children of the original owner, let's say the original owner has died, Matzu amri le, can they say to him, ki akni loch avuna kefeila David li nayach nafshay, our father gave you over the kefil because again you did something good for him. But in terms of us, that's not the case. Odil maloshnor, maybe there's no difference. The sons would be the same thing. Shalmu bonim levanimai. What if the children pay the children, meaning both the shomer and the original owner have died? What would be the halacha then? Shilem mechsamai. Let's say the person just pays half. Shal shtei paros v'shilem achas. Man, let's say the person borrowed 2 cows and he paid one of them. What would be the halacha in that case? Shal min hashutfin v'shilem le'echad mehan. Let's say he borrowed from partners and he paid one of them. What would be the halach in that case? Shutfin shashalu v'shilem echad mehen mai. Let's say you have partners that borrow and one of them pays. What's the halacha? Shal minho isha v'shilem lebala mai. What if he borrows from the wife and he pays back the husband? What would be the halacha in that case? And isha shashala v'shilem bala. Let's say a woman borrows and her husband pays. What would be the halacha in that case? And the Gemara says, the Gemara leaves these as questions. And Rashi explains, V'amru bonim einanu mishalim, and the children say they're not going to pay lo hispik l'shalim ad shemes, meaning the original shomer did not have a chance to pay and then he died. Now the children say that they're not going to pay. Shalmu bonim, let's say the children pay, v'av lo hispik lomar hareini mishalim ad shemes, but the father never said, I'm going to pay, and then he died. What would be the halach in that situation? Di'avid li nayach nafshoy, maybe the original owner can say, the shomer, he did something good for me. Pa'amim rabos asali kor asruach, he did good things for me, that's why I gave him the kefil. Maybe that doesn't apply to the children. Shilem libanim, let's say the shomer pays to the children, meaning mesu habaylim, the original owners died, v'nignav, when it was stolen, v'yamar hashomer libanim, and the shomer says to the children, hareini mishalim, I'm going to pay. O shilim, or he actually pays them. What's the halacha? Shilmu banim libanim mai, if the children pay the children, deleko shumtzad naicha. Now there was nobody that did anybody a favor here, because all the original people have died who were involved in this shmira. Ba'elu shem kayomim shalohem v'lo avim asu koras ruach le'elu v'lo avim shalelu kibel koras ruach mibnei hashomer. Nobody alive did a favor, nobody alive has received a favor. O dilmar, maybe kevan sheshneim harishonim havelu nayach nafshe b'hadadi. Maybe since the two original people did do a favor to one to the other, so kanuk fela. So maybe the kefil was given over af bonim and habonim. Maybe the kefil is given over even from children to children. Shilei mechsa, let's say he just pays back half of it. Mitchilaso amar hareini meshali mechsa v'lo yoser. He says from the outset, I'm going to pay half and no more. Ma'u liknos chatzi hakefil. What's the halach in terms of getting half the kefil? Shal shtei paros. Let's say he borrows 2 cows. And tim salomar lo kani mechsa. Let's say you say it doesn't work when you do halfway. How about in this case? Shal shtei paros. Let's say he borrows 2 cows. V'nignavu, when they get stolen. V'yamar hareini meshalim achas. He says I'm going to pay for one. V'lo amar mesa machmas malachi. He doesn't claim on that one that it died because of the work. Mahu liknos kefil shalok. Can he at least get the kefil for that animal? Miyaminun kevin the parash shleima shilim kana. Do we say since he paid a full cow, so therefore he gets it? O dilmar, maybe kevin the tarvayu chad pikadnav, since it was all one deposit. Ve'enu meshalim eshteim. He's not paying both of them. Lo akni like fail. He's not going to give him the kefil. Shareyu nifsad al yadu, because he's losing through him. V'shilem la'echad mehem. Let's say he pays one of them, meaning chelko, meaning to say a partners. He gives him his portion. Chatzi demesh olav, half the value. Ma'u liknos chelko hamagiu. Can he get that chelik? Miyamin kol hakeren shalo shilem. Do we say that his entire principal was paid? O dilma b'ina nachi yashalim kol hapara. Maybe he needs to pay the whole cow. V'shilem echad mehem chatzi dam of shalav, or one of them pays again half of that value. Ma'u sheyikne chatzi hakefil. Can he get half the kefil? Miyamin harishilam kol hamutal olav. Do we say that he paid his entire share? share. Or Shal Minho Isha, let's say he borrows from the wife, Para Shal Nichse Melug. We're talking here about a cow that the wife brought in as Nichse Melug. Sha'keren Shalah, she owns the principal, she owns the cow. Va'aperos Laval, but the fruits go to the husband. Vishilim Hapar Labal, and then he pays the para to the husband. Mahu Liknos HaKefel, does he get the kefel? Mi'amrin on Kevan de Keren Lav de Baal, who do we say that since the principal is not owned by the husband, Lav Tashlum and Ma'al Yaninu, that's not a real payment. V'lo Kani Kfeli, he doesn't get the kefel. Odil Makevan da Petropasu al Nechasim, or maybe since he's watching over the property, V'yochel HaPeros, and he is consuming the fruits, Bailam Havi Alayu, he is considered to be the owner. V'tashlum and it is considered to be a tashlum, and it's considered to be payment. Or Isha Shashala, let's say the wife borrowed L'tzorach Karka Mulug Shalaf for her land that was Nichse Mulug. And again, in all of these cases, the Gemara left it as a question. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Huna says, Mashbiyan oso shvua she'ena b'reshus, so we make the shomer take a shvua that the item is not in his reshus, that it's not in his possession. My time, what's the reason? Chayshin and Shama of Nasan Bo, we are concerned. Maybe he set his eyes on the item, maybe he wants the item. And Rashi explains, Mashbiyan oso amasnisin kai, we're going on the Mishnah. What it means to say is as follows. Afal pishu mashalim, even though the shomer says he's going to pay for the item, kidikatani shilim v'lo ratzali shava, like the Mishnah says he's going to pay, he doesn't want to swear. Mashbiyan oso shvua she'ena b'reshus, so we do make him take a shvua that it's not in his reshus, because we're afraid maybe this is a way that he's trying to get this specific item. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have a question from the following Mishnah in Meseches Shavuos, Hamalves chaver al hamashkin, if somebody lends his friend money on collateral, meaning the lender takes collateral from the borrower, v'avad hamashkin, and then the lender loses the collateral, v'yamar lo, and the lender says to the borrower, Sela hil v'sicha olav, I lent you a sela on this collateral, and shekel hayashava, but the collateral that you gave me was only a shekel. A shekel is a half a sela. V'halo omer, and the borrower says back, lo no, ki ala sela hil v'sani olav, sela hayashava. You lent me a sela, and I gave you a collateral that was a sela. I don't owe you anything. So Potter, so he is exempt. The borrower in this case is essentially a kofar bakol. He's denying everything. That's why he is exempt. And the Mishnah continues, Sela hil v'sicha olav, let's say the lender says to the borrower, I lent you a sela, shekel hayashava, but the collateral you gave me was only a shekel. So again, the lender is claiming 1 shekel from the borrower. V'halo omer, and the borrower says back, lo, no, ki ela sela hil v'sani olav, you did lend me a sela, but shlosha dinarim hayashava, I gave you a collateral that was actually 3 dinarim. It was a little more than a shekel. There are 4 dinarim in a sela, so essentially he's admitting to 75%. He's saying, I owe you a little money, but not as much money. I owe you a half a shekel, even though you're claiming I owe you a shekel. He's essentially, in this case, the loaf is essentially a mode of a mixas. So in this case, chayiv, in this case, he's going to be chayiv, meaning to say he has to take a shvua like any case of mode of a mixas. And the Mishnah continues, Sela hil v'sani olav. Let's say you have a case where he says, I lent you a sela, beis hayashav, and it was worth 2 slime, meaning to say, rather it's the borrower saying, you lent me a sela, and I gave you a collateral that was actually worth 2, so you owe me a shekel. The borrower is now making a claim from the lender, because you lost a collateral that was worth more than the loan. V'halo omer, and the lender says back, lo no, ki ala sela hil v'sicha olav, I lent you a sela hayashav, and you gave me a collateral that was a sela. Again, it's exactly even. So in that case, the lender is a kofar bakol, so the lender is pater, the lender is exempt. Sela hil v'sani olav, let's say the borrower says, you lent me a sela, shnayim hayashav, and again he says the collateral was worth 2, so therefore you owe me a sela. V'halo omer, and the lender says back, lo no, ki ala sela hil v'sicha olav, I did lend you a sela, but hey dinarim hayashav, it wasn't worth 2 slime, it was worth 5 dinarim, it was worth a little more than a sela. I only owe you a little of what you're claiming. He's a mode of a mixas, so again, chayiv, he's going to be chayiv to take a shvua. And the Mishnah now says, Mi nishba. Now, who is the one that actually takes the oath? The answer to that is, Mi shahapikodan etzla. We make the person who takes the oath is the person who had the deposit. In this case, the deposit is the collateral. Essentially, the Mishnah at the end is saying that it is the lender who should take the oath. Why? Because Shema yishava zeh v'yotzi halos hapikodan, because we're afraid, what if the borrower takes the oath? Essentially, the oath over here is you're swearing how much the collateral was worth, and now the lender is going to go ahead and actually take out the collateral and prove it wrong. He can essentially show that it's a false shvua by displaying the collateral. We don't want him to have that kind of control over this situation, and so therefore we say that it is the lender is the one who should take the shvua. Now the Gemara says ahaya. Now this last line, which is saying who should take the shvua, it's the lender that should take the shvua. What line in the Mishnah is it going on? We essentially had 4 cases in this Mishnah, and the Gemara says ilema seifa. Now if you say it's going on the end, meaning to say it's going on the cases where the borrower is the one claiming from the lender, and the lender is being moed of a mixas, so So there you don't have to say that. V'tepikle the shvua gabi malvi. There you don't need to say that the reason the lender takes the shvua is because he has the pikadon. Simply say the reason the lender takes the shvua is because he's the one to hakamodi mixas ataina. The shvua is by him because he's the one that's the motive of mixas. At the end cases of the Mishnah are talking about situations where the borrower is claiming from the lender, and the lender is taking a shvua because he's motive of mixas. So of course the lender is the one that takes the shvua. So it can't be going on the end cases of the Mishnah. So Elamar Shmuel, rather Shmuel says our Reisha. It has to be going on the beginning cases where at least the motive of mixas in that situation is the borrower who's being motive of mixas, and then we're saying the lender is the one that takes the shvua. And the Gemara says Maya Reisha. What do you mean exactly on the beginning of the Mishnah? You mean to say obviously Aseifa the Reisha on the second case of the first two cases of the Mishnah, on the end of the Reisha of the Mishnah, which is the following case. Sela hilvisicha olav. Again, the lender says, I lent you a sela, a shekel hayashava, but the collateral was only worth a shekel, so therefore you owe me a shekel. Vahalom, or the other one says, lo, no, ki ala sela hilvisani olav, you did lend me a sela, but shlosha dinar and hayashava, but it was worth 3 dinar, so I don't owe you as much as you're claiming. It was not worth a shekel, it was actually worth 3 dinar, I just owe you a dinar. So there, in that case, who's the mode of a mixas? So really, it's the lov, it's the borrower who's being mode of a mixas. So chayiv is chayiv to take a shvua. The shvua gabe lovahu. Now, really, technically, the shvua is by the lova, because the lova is the one being mode of a mixas. The omer rabbanan, and then the rabbanan are saying l'shtava malva. It's the lender that should take the shvua. Shema yishav hazeh, because we're afraid maybe the borrower will take the shvua. V'yotzi halu as hapikadon, and then this other party, the malva will take out the pikadon. And the Gemara says v'im, and if. And we will take a look at a couple of Rashis over here. Ushtayim hayashava. There was a case again where the borrower says that it was actually worth more than the loan. It was worth 2 sela. V'halova toveas hamalve as yes or damav. In this case, the borrower is asking the lender for that extra value. Because Savar Haitan and Rashi points out the Tana of this Mishnah holds hamalva ala mashkan. If somebody lends money on a collateral, shomer sacharu, that person is considered to be a shomer sachar with regards to the collateral, essentially the same as a pikadon. And Rashi continues l'shtava malva again in the situation where the lova is really the mode of a mixas and he should be taking the shvua. We say no, the malva takes the shvua. Shelo haisa shavel a shekel. The malva should take a shvua that the collateral was only worth a shekel, v'yitol shekel, and then he'll collect the shekel that he is claiming. The kevon deika shvua la lova min Torah. Rashi explains since on a doraisa level the lova here really does have to take a shvua because he's mode of mixas. You can't exempt him for nothing. And therefore, for the betterment of the world, we don't want a Jew to be disqualified. We don't want him to take a shvua, then be proven false. Now suddenly he'll be disqualified for edus and for taking a shvua. So therefore, we take the shvua away from the lova, and we give it to the malva, we give it to the lender, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph.